just to be clear, when I got my software development job here, I was lucky, but I also got told no 100 times. So
Hey guys, what's up? It's another episode of the Melanated Files. My name is Ranzo and today I'm joined by Terrance Reynolds, right?
Yeah.
So Terrance has been in Japan for a few years now. We're going to dive into his story right now. So Terrance,
yeah.
I want you to introduce yourself to the world. Tell them who you are, you know, what you do, and why you came to Japan.
All right, cool. So you already covered my name, Terrance Reynolds, but I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. For those who don't live in America, that's like, around Pennsylvania, like New York area, like northeastern area. But I've been in Japan since 2017, and it's been a wild ride. I originally came here to Fukuoka, but my company transferred me to Kochi, and then I ended up here in Tokyo, which I imagine we're going to cover that entire story like during this interview.
You were in Hong Kong at one point.
Yeah.
Right? Did you leave Hong Kong for Japan, or Hong Kong back to America, then Japan afterwards?
Okay, so let's cover it. In 2015, I was in Hong Kong. I was studying abroad. I was studying at a university called Hong Kong Baptist University. Hong Kong is a very amazing place. I was around 20 years old. It was my last semester of school.
Okay.
Afterwards, or during that time rather, I came to Japan as a visitor, as a tourist, went around Tokyo, saw how amazing it is, and I kind of set my sights to live here.
Okay.
Afterwards, after I finished my last semester at Hong Kong, which was only one semester, just to be clear, I went back to America. I had my own small business. I was a digital designer, photographer, building websites and helping clients with pretty much any of their digital needs, whether it's freelance photography, web design, or even social media marketing. Me and my partner, who was about 10 years older than me, he was more of a mentor. We had our own office in Cleveland. Now, during that time of my life, I was really focused on starting a business, and that was my primary goal. But, growing up as a black kid in Cleveland, Ohio, I actually never traveled before. That was my first time ever being abroad, like just being on the plane, going somewhere by myself. So once that seed was planted in me, like I couldn't shake that off of me. So it always been my dream to start a business, but I kind of put that on hold. So 2 years into the business, I decided to move to Tokyo. Not Tokyo, my apologies. I decided to move to Japan. I got this job as an English teacher. Okay. And that's what brought me here in 2017. I hope that's a good explanation for it.
So I know that you transitioned from being an ALT, so I want to dive into that a little bit, because a lot of times people ask me, like, how can I come to Japan? And they might not want to teach English. And I'm like, listen, it's a vehicle, right? It's the route to Japan.
Right.
Take it.
Right.
And then once you're here, then you can explore your options, right? A lot of people are just like, I don't want to teach, so I'm not going to try that. But it's the easiest way. There are just so many people in Japan who came here teaching English. Now we got business owners, creatives, you name it, we got it in Japan, right? So tell me about the transition from being an ALT to a software developer. Okay. And I also learned that you're a DJ as well. So
that was
about the transition. Right?
All right. So where should I start? Let's talk about my time in Kochi. So to revert back, I originally came here. I was in Fukuoka. My company sent me to Kochi because they ran out of teaching spots. I was working for Interact at the time, and I became this ALT in Kochi, which is on the Shikoku Island. It's not a very popular place, and most people will probably have to Google it to figure out what it is. But if anyone knows, like, teaching English, especially when you're teaching kids, like, the kids are wonderful, and it can be very good to make an impact on these children's lives and just be a part of the community as a whole. But you're glorified like a tap dancer when you're like teaching English at times, and you're just like reciting ABCs, helping the kids count to 20. It's not a very fulfilling job, unfortunately. That's at least my opinion. Maybe other people might have a different opinion. So I knew that isn't what I wanted to do. Like, sometimes in life you take a step back to take 2 steps forward. I was a business owner back in Cleveland. To teach English and help kids count to 20 wasn't like my highest aspiration. So I realized in Japan I can't speak Japanese. Even to this day, I still don't speak Japanese very well. So I had to think of a route to, I guess, pivot to. I was 23 years old at the time, and I realized that this isn't exactly what I was doing. So if I'm being 100% transparent, how I ended up in Tokyo was actually by accident. I originally thought that I was going to go to China and teach English in China, and then get a master's degree online, because teaching English in China, you can make more money and you work less hours. So I figured I would get an online master's and just pivot into my real career. But due to like some experiences, like, during the interview process in China, I decided to not go along that route. And I was almost at the point of giving up back in 2018. And I decided to start applying for jobs here in Tokyo. and I just got lucky. I got real lucky. Like a company decided to like interview me. They flew me out to Tokyo, and I did this test. And I didn't even pass the test, but I guess they saw promise in me.
Okay.
And they offered me a job, and next thing you know, November 2018, I'm leaving this AOT job to become a software developer here in Tokyo, Japan.
Okay. So like, why software development? Like, how did you like get into that?
Right.
You're teaching English in Japan. You got your schedule. Like, tell me about the process.
Right. I'm glad you asked that, because I forgot to cover it while I was like going through that timeline. So while I was teaching English, I used to spend a lot of time just studying software development. Now, I've always been a tech guy. Like, I love tech. When I had my own business in Cleveland, I was building websites for people. So I wasn't necessarily programming per se, but I always been around code. I saw code. I understood how it worked. And I knew that this is a skill that I can pick up because I have a lot of adjacent skills that surround it. So what I end up doing, like, you know, teaching English, you're only working like 30 hours a week, maybe 40 hours if you're unfortunate. I would come home and I would immediately begin studying. And I was studying every single day, like just taking online tutorials, buying books, reading books, paying for online classes, and just practicing. You know, I was making tons of mistakes, but I just consistently and relentlessly kept practicing. I even did this thing called a 100-day challenge, where I challenged myself to like code every single day for 100 days, like without question. Even if I was sick, hungover, that was my number one priority. So because of that determination, because of that discipline, I had some footing to stand on. And that's, am I answering the question? Like, that's how I ended up. That's why I ended up choosing software development. For one, I had adjacent skills that surround it, so I believe that I can pick it up. And two, I just relentlessly pursued it until I became decent at it.
Okay, so how was the transition? I think software engineering is something that a lot of people are interested in. So I want to ask you two questions. One is, how did you approach like landing a job in that field in Japan? And also for people who are interested in actually changing their careers, I should say.
So looking for a job, I can tell you, so I'm gonna answer your two questions separately. So number one, looking for a job. I use LinkedIn. That's how I find my jobs. That's how I usually find my jobs. LinkedIn is a very popular recruiting tool that either recruiting companies use or the companies that you're trying to work for themselves use. So LinkedIn is a great resource. There's other resources that you can use, like Japan Dev. I think it's japan-dev.com. There's like 1,000,001 different resources here in Japan that you can use to find software developer jobs that are like English friendly. The beauty of software development, number two, which I didn't cover, well, I guess this is like sub point A that I didn't cover, is you don't have to speak Japanese to do the job here. Most companies are bilingual, or their official language or the department language is English. Now, how do you become a software developer? Now, there's generally three routes. The route I took was the self-taught route, and I don't recommend it to a lot of people because you have to really be disciplined. There's a lot of mistakes that you're just guaranteed to make, and it requires a lot of resiliency. A lot of it is just a testament of like just challenging your character, because when you're learning how to code, I'm just going to be real with you guys, you're not going to be good for the first year or two. You're going to be terrible, and that's okay. And you have to almost humble yourself and like just be patient with the process until you eventually achieve it. And that's the self-taught route. The other route that you can do is boot camps. Boot camps is a pretty popular thing if you're fortunate enough to live in maybe a popular city like Osaka and Tokyo, where they were like training you to code within 4 months at a fraction of the cost, and then you would be job ready. I'm using air quotes here for whatever job that you're looking for. And then the final route was going to school for 4 years. So those are the three routes that you can get into software development. But ultimately speaking, what these companies look for is whether or not you can do the job. You don't even have to have a degree in software development. My degree is in marketing. It's not even in software development. If you can do the job, if you have the confidence and the skill set, they'll take a chance on you.
A lot of people talk about language proficiency in Japan, right? And of course, I think it makes your life easier. There's a lot of things that you can do. But it's like whenever someone has a goal, it's like if you have the mindset that nothing will stop you, not even the language can stop you, right? And it seems like that's true in your case.
Yeah. You know, I remember being in Kochi and like the other ALTs like, what, you can't speak Japanese? You know, like they pride themselves. Like I went to school and I studied Japanese for 4 years. My my major is in Japanese. Like how can you can't speak it? But that's just never been me. Like I never, I like Japan, but I never saw myself being here for my whole entire life. So I never really saw the need to invest into a language that I'm only going to use for a temporary time period. Now, I understand the cultural immersion argument and all of that stuff, and I truly get it, but there's only 24 hours in the day, and I have to plan what skill is going to be useful for me 15 years from now. And that was learning how to code. So it just all happens serendipitously. Like the fact that tech is a job offering here that doesn't require Japanese. That's like check number 1 for me. The fact that I had adjacent skills was check number 2. So things really aligned for me in many different ways. Now I have to be honest. I hope I'm not pivoting too much. I tend to do that while I'm talking. Like the way that I did it was very lucky. The fact that I lived in Kochi City, I didn't even live in Tokyo, but I lived in Kochi City. The company flew me out and I didn't pass the test and they still hired me. That's some luck. And for most people, I do not recommend you do that. If you want to become a software engineer here in Japan, I suggest you move to Tokyo first, because I don't think many people would get that lucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a success story, I think, to get into a field, software development, without a language.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, right? A lot of people are going to say, I'm telling you from now, they're going to say, you're in Japan, you need to learn the language. In the comments, they're going to be writing it. Right? Like, listen, what do you mean? Like, but it's true. Like, the fact of the matter is, people are in Japan thriving without the language. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn it.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to learn it, hey, go and do it. That's what I'm doing, because I love the language. I just never had the time.
Yeah, I've been here for 5 years, and it's not like I haven't took Japanese classes, trust me. But just like with anything, like, that same discipline that someone did towards learning the language. Like, I know people who will spend hours every single day practicing Japanese. Well, I just took that time and practice software development, because just realistically speaking, if I would have split my time between learning how to code and learning Japanese, I probably wouldn't have any results right now. I probably wouldn't even be a software developer.
True.
Especially the self-taught route, there's such a huge time investment that it just comes down to just economics. When it comes to the usage of your time, it's not that I don't respect the value and the advantages of speaking the language, but I don't get paid to speak the language. I get paid to write code.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, man. It's like, it's a lot of time, and you got to be obsessed. If you want to be really good, you have to be obsessed, right? And I think you're an example of that. And even in my own life, I know that whatever I focus on, like, I succeed at it. So I think any human can do that. That's me. Yeah. I'm very optimistic. And of course, I saw that in your bio, you wrote that you're from the ghetto in Cleveland. I'm from the ghetto in Jamaica, right? So I understand that where you're from, it doesn't really matter, right? If people saw the community I grew up in, they're going to be like, what the heck? Yeah. You survived that? I'm like, yeah, I did. Which means you can come from where you are and just go to wherever you want to go, like, do the work.
It's a hustler's mentality. Right? And like, I never really saw myself as a victim growing up, or even a victim of circumstances. When I was teaching English in Japan, it's very easy, because when people come here, you can get trapped in the bubble. You can set your dreams to come to Japan and be like, I'm going to become an English teacher. Then you realize the reality of English teaching. And then maybe you might go through like a small depression or just like a down point in your life. But I never really saw myself as a victim. I saw myself as just like, every single obstacle is an opportunity. And just growing up like in the streets of Cleveland, that always taught me that, like, even like that starting point in life, I never really saw that as like who I am, narratively speaking. That's just something for me to overcome. So just having that mindset, it was very easy. Like, if I can make it from there to here, then I can make it from teaching English in Kochi to Tokyo. Like, that's a much smaller jump, because very few people where I'm from even made it to Kochi. So,
right.
Yeah.
So how long did you teach English for in Kochi?
Only a year and a half.
Okay.
Only a year and
so
a
you
half.
spent, so did you start learning to code like at the beginning of that year?
After the first year was over, that's when I began to learn how to code. That was also pulling back. That's when I also started to DJ as well.
Okay.
But like, that's when I started to learn how to code, especially that summer, with Interact, and every company rather has different contracts. But for Interact, I had a solid month and a half off. So I just spent that time just during the summer. So I spent that time just coding every single day. With my work schedule, I only work 28 hours a week. So that's plenty of time to be there practicing writing code for like 5 or 6 hours a day. So I just had a lot of time on my hands that year. But even after I got the job, I did suffer a lot from imposter syndrome, because I had a job that maybe I wasn't 100% qualified for, but they saw the potential in me. And because they saw the potential in me and they knew that I was a good worker, like, even when I got the job, I was still coding every single day. Like, I didn't stop coding every single day until like a year and a half after I got the job. I was always studying. I didn't even go out my first year in Tokyo because I was always studying, because I knew the ramp up period, if I wanted to have a career here and not plateau, was going to be much longer than me getting that job. Even after I got the job, that was the time for me to show and prove.
So how long have you been coding now?
So I've been doing this since 2018. So if you're counting programming, I did learn like just small bits of computer code when I was a kid. I do want to say that, so it's complex. If you're in software development, a lot of people think HTML and CSS is programming. It's not. It's more of a markup language. We don't have to get into the details of that. I did have experience of building websites and designing websites, so I did understand HTML and CSS, but what makes you job ready is understand the programming language JavaScript. And I've been coding that since 2018. So what is that? Almost 3 years? 4 years? Yeah. So yeah, I'm going on 4 years. Like, it was towards the beginning of 2018. So yeah.
So tell me about DJing. Like, how did you get into that, and how has that been?
Oh man, so I used to go to this club all the time in Kochi every single weekend. Shout out to the club owner out there, Yohei, man. He's a really good dude. The club, I think it closed down now, but I used to go to his club all the time, and I used to help organize these parties. Like, I used to invite all the people I knew out, like whether it's my Japanese friends who spoke English, and even my Japanese friends who didn't speak English, and we communicated through Google Translate, and even some of my foreigner friends. Like, I used to always just enjoy going out. It was a healthy distraction for me in 2017. Okay. And but the club, they always play like EDM and stuff, like things I'm not really that much into. So like, it started off with me organizing parties and telling them to play like hip hop music and telling them what music to play and sending them playlists and stuff. But then, I think one day, I think I was drunk, and I'm like, yo, I want to start DJing. And he was like, you're serious? I'm like, yeah, I am serious. And he was like, all right, if you're serious, come by. And I came by for my first lesson. He taught me. And then from that point on, I think it was the start of 2018, I went there every single weekend to practice DJing. And that was another character building exercise for me, because he didn't just have me DJ during off hours. He had me DJ during when the business was open. So it was a very humbling experience having to get up behind that DJ booth, play music, and watch people take a cigarette break. So
people believe in you though. People believe in you and take chances on you, right? From what you're saying.
Yeah. I think people realize I'm serious about what I say and about what I do, and it's not about where you start, it's about where you're going. So I was terrible at DJing at first, but I just practiced every single week in front of people, and you gotta remove your ego. When it comes to learning anything new, the first thing that you have to do is just admit to yourself that you don't know what you're doing, and it's fine, and just have patience with yourself. So when I started DJing, just software development, I knew I was bad. People showed me I was bad because they would walk out. But eventually, because I went there every single week and I never skipped it, I got better at it. I got really good at it, and it was a full circle moment for me, because when November came, when I left to go to Tokyo, this club was a really popular club in Kochi, and every single famous person who would come to the club, every single popular artist and DJ, they would sign a wall, just to say that they've been there. And before I left, I got a chance to write my name on that wall too. So that felt like a full circle moment for me. Hey, I started off this year not being able to do this, and then by the end of the year, my name is on the wall with everybody else, so that felt cool.
What's your strategy or technique to let people, give them the comfort that they need to believe in you?
I'm just myself. I think other people can see that more than I can probably see in myself, because I say I want to do something, and I say that I'm serious, and I show and prove with my actions, not with words and lip service. So that's pretty much it. I ask for an opportunity, and they give me it, and I don't waste it. It's just that simple, I guess.
So how about people coming to Japan? Any advice for them?
I will probably say, ask yourself why you're coming here. The why behind it will determine how far you succeed here, and then the quality of life that you will have here. Are you looking for something? Do you think Japan is this utopia? Are you trying to escape something? I know a lot of ALTs are either looking for something or run away from something. Just ask yourself the why, because the why will determine what you do and where you go and how far you should take it. Are you coming here temporarily to see a different country? If you know that, then maybe have an exit plan. Know when you're going to leave. Are you coming here to live your entire life here? If you know that, then maybe you should start learning Japanese. Are you coming here to ultimately work in tech or be a marketer, be a Japanese, or live in Japan and be a photographer? You have to ask yourself what's your end goal of coming here. I know that sounds like some generic advice, but it's because everybody's situation is different. You should know your reasons why, and that will help influence your strategy of what you should do when you're here. But,
so what's the continue.
Which is practically speaking to save us some money. If you want to just get like some concrete examples, bring some money because the unexpected will happen. Know a little bit about the culture. There's tons of YouTube channels. This YouTube channel specifically that will give you a lot of good gems about what to expect. But yeah.
So when they touch down, right, what's the first thing that they should do? Day one in Japan.
Day one.
You've secured your apartment, all that good stuff. Your first week at work concluded that. What should they do?
Meet people. Go out and meet people. Even for me, like, and I'm a pretty introverted guy who spends a lot of time just working. Like, I would suggest those first three months just socializing, because just for your own mental sanity, it is incredibly important to have a secure base of people that you can rely and trust on, and even have healthy distractions with. Being here, being by yourself in the country, because most of the time when you're an English teacher, they send you to the most rural and remote places, and that has a strong impact on your mental health. So my suggestion is just be mindful of that, because many people will go to those places and feel alone. They'll feel isolated. So my advice is like become as immersed as possible and find a community, because that's what's going to keep you going for the long run.
True. What's your end goal? You were speaking about end goal previously. What's your end goal?
My end goal for Japan Japan? Japan, probably right now. I'm going to stay here until I'm a senior software engineer. Right now, I'm still studying.
I thought you were going to say senior citizen. Yeah, continue.
Until I'm a senior software engineer. Like I said, I'm self-taught, so there's a lot that I don't know, especially when it comes to this theoretical stuff. So I have a company right now that, it affords me the ability to learn on the job. And that's a very valuable thing. And my ultimate goal is to just build up my experience and probably leave. I don't see myself being here forever. Like I said, I think I said that in the beginning. I like Japan. It's awesome, but I don't love it here. So I'm probably going to stay because I have a great opportunity. I work for a startup company. I'm managing projects, and at my experience level, I probably even shouldn't be a project manager, to be honest, but I'm being exposed to so much information that it's incredibly valuable for me to stay here and just keep absorbing it.
What do you love and what do you not love about Japan?
One thing I love about Japan is just the peacefulness. Like, everything is so organized when you come to this country, and it's just so stable. But what I don't love about it is probably that same stability. Japan can be a very rigid place at times that just becomes unmoving. It's like this Japanese mentality of like, we're Japanese and this is how we do it and this is how it's going to be done. A lot of Japanese culture, you'll find just working, especially as an English teacher or even working in corporate offices, is they focus more on the process. And like, if it's been done a particular way for a particular time, it's very easy just to stay in that mindset. And you really notice it when you're dealing with like bureaucratic things, like going to the post office, banking, going to city hall. Like, it's so painstakingly slow and boring. It's crazy, man.
Do you find that sort of rigidity in like the startup that you're working at? It's a Japanese startup, right?
It's a Japanese company, yeah.
Okay.
No, actually. But I can't speak for the entire organization and the different teams and departments in the organization, but at least for the dev team, the product team, majority of us are not Japanese. Like, I think we only have like 3 Japanese people on a team of like 16 like developers. So like, majority of us is from Europe. I think I'm the only American. No, there's 2 Americans there. But yeah, majority of us is like from different areas. So we kind of bring our culture into the company, and that has a significant impact on how we do things. Now, there's still like, the overarching Japanese culture of only having like 12 holidays. Like, I have like 12 days off with no sick days. Like, it's crazy, man. But like, besides that, I think it's a two-way channel of communication between culture, where we bring our culture into the company, and of course, the overarching Japanese culture has an impact on us.
Yes, I know you have a book podcast, right? So I want to ask you about the top 3 books that you think had the most impact on your life and the way you see the world.
Man, that is
A tough question.
That is good, but I got you.
Okay.
I'm always ready for this one. Book number one, I will probably say the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the key takeaways that I have from that book is begin with the end in mind. Like, I always believe in this idea of legacy. That what do you want people to say at your funeral? Like, what's that? Who do you want to be known as when all of this is over? And when it comes to anything that you do, whether it's coming to Japan, what does the end goal look like? Whether it's learning how to code, learning how to DJ, defining success up front matters so much to me in my entire process that book has had a revolutionary impact on me. Book number 2 is Ray Dalio Principles, and I'm not even done with that book yet, but there's so much gems in that book, and the way that man thinks is just incredible. He's a very data-oriented and logical-based guy, and he uses data and objectivity to influence who he is. Like, that's stripping away of the ego, and then just like really taking a deep look at who you are as a person matters, especially if you're trying to be productive. A lot of us, when it comes to productivity, we're very emotional. Like, we tend to work hard. Our motivation tends to, like, show up and wane away based on our emotions. Being able to, like, create a system to prevent something like that and just really look at yourself objectively and have accurate feedback helps you improve. Like, I haven't always been the most disciplined guy in the world, but because I have good feedback systems and because the job that I do gives me active feedback, it helps me slowly improve and become that person that I want to be. And that's important. And then book number 3, that's the tough one, man. What would be book number 3 that matters a lot to me?
What's the first book you read that got you interested in reading? Like, is there a book that hooked you? Like, which book is that? What book is that?
When I was in the 7th grade, my teacher gave me the book, The 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
He gave me the 48 Laws of Power, and like, it's so many gems in that book. And that book is by Robert Greene. And I've been reading that since I was like 12 years old. So it helped develop a lot of my mindset and the way I think right now. Another book I probably read in college that maybe deserves an honorable mention that's by the same author of the 48 Laws of Power is called Mastery. This idea, that would be the 3rd book, Mastery, the 10,000 hour rule. Like, it takes to understand to be great at something, not to be good at something, but to be truly great requires 10,000 hours of deep and deliberate practice. And when I measure my productivity, I love to count the hours. I love to put on that Pomodoro timer and just count how many minutes that I'm working. Like, that matters so much. Having that raw, objective data helps me understand how far am I in whatever skill set that I'm trying to develop. And also, it helps me, like, humble myself and understand that talent does not matter. Talent gives you a head start when it comes to any skill. Some people they naturally get it more than others. But what matters in the long run, when you're beginning with that end in mind, is time and deliberate practice. So those 3 books, if I had to name them, it would be The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it would be Principles by Ray Dalio, and it would be Mastery by Robert Greene. So those are our top 3 most influential books.
So I guess you read Grit then by Robert, what's her name?
Angela
Duckworth.
Yeah, I know about it. I read some.
Because you spoke about deliberate practice, right? So usually that's like where I got that concept from. So I'm like, I thought you read that one.
Oh man, we on the same page. I got the book. I know Angela Duckworth. She has a great TED Talk, man. I'm well tapped in when it comes to this literature stuff, man.
Okay.
And so yeah, like, if I don't finish the book, I at least read like 25% of it. But when you read so many of these different books, they start all
overlap, right? Yeah.
Thing, man. I can name drop The Power of Habits, and a lot of stuff that's in The Power of Habits is in Robert Greene's Mastery book. So it all starts to overlap after a certain point.
That's true. And you know what I like? It's like, and this is something I think about, and I'm not sure how other people see it, because some people might push back on this. I don't think you will, because you grew up in like the inner city in America, right? Yeah. And I did the same thing in Jamaica. You just see yourself outside of it, right? You just, well, this is where I was born. I can't help that, but I can change my reality by activity, execution, right?
Yeah.
And you try to find a way out. In my own life, I can't say I created all the opportunities, but whenever I was given an opportunity, or if I went after something, I made the best of it, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people, sometimes they don't even search for opportunities, and when they get it, they don't want to work hard. They don't want to do the work. It doesn't matter where you were born, because you have no control over that. Am I going to say, well, I was born here, so that's it for me, I'm done? Nah, bro, I'm going to fight, right? What do you think? Like, what was your approach to life when you were younger?
You know, my life story has given me a very similar conclusion. You know, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about my life, my past, but my mother pretty much raised like many different kids. And 'cause my dad passed away when I was around 13 or 14 years old. So I left my mom working just a factory job trying to take care of all of us. And, even in that circumstance, like growing up on St. Clair and Cleveland and just having commute through gang neighborhoods and drug activity and just in this constant state of worrying about my safety, I always took advantage of every single opportunity. And that's what separated me from the rest of my peers. We didn't have a lot, but we still had something. I mean, America can be a very grimy place, but there's still many opportunities for even people like me. So if I had to go into it, when I was in school, I used to participate in extra school activities, like extracurricular activities. On top of that, when we moved out of the hood when I was 16 years old and I moved into the suburb right outside of Cleveland called Euclid, majority of my peers, they wanted to have that traditional high school experience. But because I was always tapped into what's next, when I moved there when I was 15 years old, they told me, yo, they have this not study abroad, this post-secondary program that allow you to start college at 16. So when I saw that opportunity, I'm like, all right, what do I got to do? And I was like, you just have to have a certain GPA and you have to pass the college entrance exam. If you can do that, then you can go to college. I immediately said yes to the opportunity. So I started college at 16. Even during that time when I started college at 16, I was in school, I had so much free time because unlike in high school, you have to consistently go to school between 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. In college, you have 1 or 2 classes a day. I would take that extra free time and I would just do more stuff in the community. And I would go back to my old middle school that was in the hood and help out, volunteer. And because they saw me volunteering, and you can even see some of these videos on my Instagram channel, I became well connected with a lot of the community leaders in the city. I ended up meeting the mayor. I ended up meeting people who started their own business, sold their company to IBM. I met, I ended up being even flown to DC to talk to Congress or Congress people about the importance of education, all because I took that extra time and I gave back. I saw the opportunities around me and I put my mind and my attention towards it. Let's just say I can't think of a better word. And if we just unravel the story of my life, I know we only got X amount of time, so I'm giving you the abridged version. Whether it's me starting college at 16, me going to college, having a lot of free time, taking that free time, giving back to the community, I just kept doing that. Every single opportunity I got, I tried to find a way to give back to the community, and because of that, people just kept giving me more opportunities. Man, I feel really lucky in life, man. In many ways, I feel very blessed because I've been awarded so many gifts, but I haven't been selfish with giving them out. So I think I get a lot of stuff in return.
Do you find yourself saying a lot of yes in the past? For instance, you said you took advantage of every opportunity, right?
Yeah, when I was younger. Yeah.
Did you find yourself saying yes a lot? I guess an example, what I'm thinking in my mind is I remember when I entered this competition right back in Jamaica, and they offered me a job. I don't know why they did, but they just offered me a job. Hey, do you want to do this thing? I'm like, okay, well, I've never done this before. But my mindset is always yes, right? Even when I had a small business back in Canada, if a client would ask me to do something and I never knew how to do it, I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, let me figure it out. Okay, let me get someone who can do this, or let me try to figure out how to do it. And that's usually the way that some of the things that happen in my life, I'm like, is because I said yes, yes, until you get really busy, then you got to say no. But it's you say yes as much as you can, and that's what I did.
Dude, you pretty much answering all the questions for me right now. That's 100%. In the beginning, when I was 16 and I was trying to build something for myself in the city of Cleveland, I said yes to any and every opportunity. I even asked for more opportunities. When I was 16, I was already working at TV 20 Cleveland, a local TV station as an intern, while all of my other peers are working at McDonald's and
And I was working writing for a newspaper company at the same age as well.
Yeah, yes.
Because I said yes.
I said yes. I always asked for more opportunities.
Yeah.
And people saw that in me. And if you're young and you're watching this, I don't know how young your viewership is, man. When someone in their late 20s or 30s and they see an ambitious young person with a hard skill, not just talk, but I had a hard skill of being able to design websites at the time. Not programming, but designing websites. They just start handing me any and every opportunity. And that's how I that's how I maintain my hustle, because when we started our company, it's not like I was a master at photography. Again, I have a degree in marketing. I had to learn web design on my own. I had to learn design skills on my own. I had to learn photography skills. When clients had a problem, I was their basically problem solver. And that came from a mindset of just saying yes more than I said no. In the very beginning, whether it's my job or whether it's the world outside around me, where you're trying to build something, you have to say yes. Now I'm at the stage where you hinted at, where I know what I got my foundation, I know exactly what I'm working towards. I find myself having to say no to a lot of things because, again, it's about just time. But when you're young and you're trying to get it, come on, man. Like, you got all the time in the world, man. You should be hungry for it. And I'm still in the stage of hungriness, but I'm not in that yes stage anymore. I'm more so in that focus mindset, you know?
Yeah. Who is one person that you think inspires you the most, like in the world, in any field?
Man.
One person, if you can call to mind one.
Man, it's different at different stages of my life. That answer would change. When I was much younger, like I loved reading about Steve Jobs. I used to watch every single Steve Jobs interview. I read his biography. Like, I was so, like, in that earlier stage of my life, it was definitely Steve Jobs. Nowadays, like, the person that inspires me the most is probably like two people. Definitely like less so Barack Obama, but more so Jay-Z is probably like one of my biggest inspirations right now.
Okay.
That idea, like, if you know about his life story in the 90s, that idea of being told no, and he started Rockefeller, he just started to build his own thing up because he got told no tons of times. He said he had his first tape, and like he tried to shop it to every single record company, and they said no. And that kind of like implanted in me, because if you look at what his outcome is right now, he's a business owner, not only in music, but in tons of different areas. He's a very hyper confident guy and has a high degree of self-awareness. I kind of like follow that, no pun, that blueprint I follow that blueprint in a lot of ways, man. Like in my life, again, if I go back to like my time here in Japan, just to be clear, when I got my software development job here, I was lucky, but I also got told no 100 times. So like,
applying for jobs, right?
Yeah. Okay. It's not like that job fell out the sky. Maybe I didn't clear that up in the beginning.
You didn't.
I didn't clear that up in the beginning. I said I got lucky where like that job, I didn't pass the test. They still took a chance on me. But that was after I got told no like dozens of times. And I no longer work for that company anymore. And when I started like trying to make it to the next level and like make it to the job that I'm at right now, I got told no for like 6 months straight. But in life, you just need to have that supreme confidence, that confidence to see something yourself before other people see it inside of you, because you don't need other people validation. You don't need no one to tell you when you're ready. You just got to go do the work. And that's my mindset, man. I kind of like adopted a lot of that just from like just listening to like Jay-Z lyrics. Just like, you know, believe in yourself before the world believes in you.
Nice. It's another thing too with older people, right, that see young people who are very successful, because I think a lot of people can be jealous, envious, all those negative emotions, right? And I think it's because they lack understanding. Because one is, I think personally, everyone has a gift, right? So like a person might be talented in this thing, and then also accessibility. Like if someone's parent or they had an opportunity or whatever, people have to understand that, listen, your journey is different from someone else's, right? And they're looking at a young guy that might be 15 or 16. I know this guy that's 18 at the time, and he was a millionaire. I'm like, okay, so if he's 18 and he's a millionaire, it doesn't matter. I'm like, you can't envy the man's success because his journey is different. His destiny is different from yours.
Yeah, you don't know his backstory.
Right? That's it. And even if he was handed it, that's his money, not yours.
Yeah.
So in my mind, my mindset is always, look, what's my goal? What's my journey? What do I want to do with my life? And then you make it happen. And I think that's what a lot of older people don't understand, and especially in this age of tech, when young people are just like running the place.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, you just need to find what you gotta do and do the work. That's it. Do the work. As you said, supreme confidence, and do the gosh darn work.
You know what, this new social media era has done to us is that we became envious. And a lot of us are envious. Like the main thing that you want to do is just focus on the road ahead of you, not focus on the people walking beside you and who's ahead of you and who's behind you. Just focus on your own stuff, because you hinted at it earlier, man. All of us got purpose, and I truly it doesn't matter where you start. All of us have core gifts, and when you're tapped into your core gifts, when you're tapped into your purpose, especially on a daily basis, you start to not worry about what others are doing, because you're doing what you're put here to do. And like, you know, life isn't also about just the trappings of materialistic success and wealth. It's about what are you actually put on this earth to do? And like when I'm aligned with my purpose, when I'm waking up and I'm studying, I'm reading my books, I'm practicing my code and all the other side projects, man, I don't really care about what someone else is doing, like, because I'm doing me. Yeah. And that just brings me peace of mind, man. Like, the world is going to always be the world. Things are going to change, but, you know, when you have that inner peace, when you have that stability inside of you, you start not to react to it. Because if you're worried about what someone else is doing, then you probably have insecurity. And that's not a bad thing, because all of us have that. But you should probably work.
I think they just don't know what they want to do, because if you are on your path, and you know what you want to do with your life, right? And you're doing it, then they're fine.
Yeah, right. You don't worry about it. Like, and plus, like, this is a marathon that we're all running here. So when I see someone that becomes like a huge success, like some young rapper that became like a millionaire, like at 28, not 28, or let's say 18, or even 28, I'm like, yo, that's cool. I'm doing this right now. Like this, I'm doing this, and time would tell how far all of us make it, because someone can, like, you know, be that hot thing in the moment and flame out. Some people can be that hot thing and sustain it for their whole entire life. But, you know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It just, you know, we all start off somewhere. All of us got different gifts, and all of us have, you know, different outcomes. You know, one of the most powerful things that I read, if I'm not pivoting too much, is from The Power of Habits, and it talks about this idea of goal setting. And that your goals and like what you want the end result of your effort to be is just your desired outcome. What really matters is like the process. People don't rise to like the level of their goals, they fall to the state of their habits. And when you're giving it your all, you're giving it 100%, you should be at peace at wherever the outcome is, because that thing that you desire, that thing you wish for, could just be that desired outcome. If you're giving it your all, that should be the gift in and of itself. It is not the journey, it's truly the destination. So wherever my life story take me, if my life story makes me a millionaire, billionaire, or I'm just making $50,000 a year, I'm at peace knowing that I did everything that I was put on this planet to do.
Wow, indeed. A purpose-driven life.
Yeah, man, that's important. You gotta find your purpose, man. Especially when you fall in love with the process, man. Yeah. Like, if I'm doing
the excitement, right?
And I'm doing it 100%, yo, the outcome. I don't care. Yeah. Like, it's like I'm doing it. Like, I'm living even right now, people say, yo, chase your dreams. Man, I'm living my dream right now. Yeah. If I can get up and have my podcast, regardless of how many viewership it is, like if I can get up, do my thing, slowly improve, I'm already living it, man. Like, I'm at peace at that, dude.
Tell us about the podcast. What's the name of it?
So I have this podcast called the Untitled Book Club Podcast, because we never actually took the time out to create a title. We were so excited about just like putting the content out there that we didn't even think about like the branding of it. But, you know, the raw name is just the Untitled Book Club Podcast. I'm sure the link will be in the description below, but you know, that podcast is slowly being defunct. We're still going to keep doing some episodes occasionally. It used to be a monthly podcast, but now it's probably going to be whenever we feel like getting together, because you know, my co-host, she has her own life and she decided to do her own thing, and I'm decided to do my own thing. We're great friends. We knew each other for 10 years. But I'm at the stage now I really want to give this YouTube thing a try. And I created my own YouTube channel, just Terrance Reynolds, and I'm going to try to release a video once a week. We'll see.
Okay.
So, yeah. So and it's going to be very similar content to the Untitled Book Club podcast, but it's going to be inside the tech and business world. So I'm going to try, like, you know, instead of doing like these 1 to 2 hour long podcasts about the entire book and breaking it down like a book report, maybe I'm just going to release like, you know, 5-minute videos just breaking down some sort of concept that I just learned recently and just try to explain it to the world.
So on the investment side, are you into crypto or stocks and stuff like that at all?
I've been investing since I was 20 years old, like back when I was in college. So, you know, I started off with like stocks, but around 20, I bought my first portion of Bitcoin rather, maybe back in 2018.
Satoshi.
Yeah, Satoshi, like back in 2018. But I really started getting into it at the top of 2020. So, or like late 2019, top of 2020, around when COVID happened. So. Yeah, like I'm really into it. Let's just say I know a lot about crypto. I could talk about it for days.
Let's talk about it for a little bit, right? Because I'm an advocate for it, and sometimes people are just like, crypto is like fake money and all these things. Give them like the 411 introduction into crypto.
You know, crypto, I should do a podcast on this because I know so much and it's such a wide field. And I feel like a lot of people online don't do it justice. They overly hype it and they overpromise. And because people overpromise, people often get disappointed. So let me just say this. Crypto is the intersection. Like very few times in history we have had like, huge technological transformations and just like shifts. It happens maybe every 15 years or so. If you go back to the 70s, it's the introduction of the personal computer. You go into the 80s, you start to connect those computers together and start laying a foundational layer what will soon become the internet. You go to the 90s, it's the World Wide Web. You go to the early 2000s, it's mobile platforms. If you go to the 2010s, it's after everyone has a smartphone. What happens when you have everyone with a smartphone in their pocket and using social media? Every 10 to 15 years or so, we have these technological shifts. Going into 2020, we are reaching that new shift where we are going from a internet that isn't based on ownership at all to a system and a platform that allows people to own digital items. If you look at it from a technological perspective, for our whole entire lives, and that's why people can't wrap their mind around it, we couldn't create digital money, because if money was stored on a computer, you can just copy it, just a set of ones and zero. But crypto changes that. Because we have an independent ledger that's trustless, it allows people to finally have ownership. So let me break down what exactly does that mean. In the current system that we use centralized authorities and powers to validate ownership on the internet. And that leads to significant limitations. For one, those centralized authorities like Facebook, banking systems, Visa, credit card systems, PayPal, etc., they have a huge set of power, and all of the value kind of trickles up to them. Mm-hmm. In the crypto world, because we have a decentralized approach where, if you understand what a blockchain is just a network of computers that's just connected together. And the way these computers work in the centralized world, which is the world that we're used to, where PayPal or a YouTube or a Spotify would sit in the middle and validate ownership, or even the government would validate ownership, you have to give all the power and authority to that government. But what crypto and what blockchain does differently is that it decentralizes it. And it decentralizes it using something called the blockchain. The way it works is that, hey, every single computer on this blockchain holds a copy of a ledger. And a ledger is just a list of transactions of like this thing. Item number A is transferring ownership to item number B. If it's a cryptocurrency, that cryptocurrency is leaving this person wallet to the other person wallet. If it's an NFT, it's the same situation. And the way it works is this. If there's millions of computers, and I have no idea what the number of nodes are in a Bitcoin blockchain network, if there's millions of computers, and each of those computers have a copy of the ledger, of this transaction ledger. If 51% of these computers validate the transaction, then that transaction get added to the blockchain. Without going so deep into it, I'm a very technical guy, and maybe I should do a podcast on it. This allows for ownership not to be centralized anymore. You no longer have to validate a payment through Cash App or validate a payment through Line if you're here in Japan. You can validate a transaction just in person. If you think about how money works in the real world, it's completely, at least in everyday exchanges, it's completely decentralized. If I hand you $1 right now or Japanese yen right now, we don't need a third-party person to say that this dollar is real. You're able to look at it and say, hey, this is authentic dollar. You can touch, feel it, or even smell it if that's your prerogative, and be like, I accept this dollar. Crypto, what it's ultimately trying to do is trying to create the digital version of that. And this promise turns out to be true, then this thing that's so unbelievable like NFTs and images and digital currencies that were impossible to validate, you can start to do it now, because everyone has the opportunity to hold a copy of that ledger on their computer and maybe even on their smartphone to validate the transactions themselves. And if you don't have the time or you don't have the knowledge to actually hold the ledger, there's enough people on this distributed system that will validate this transaction for you that you would never have to rely on a third party that has a centralized control like a government or even like a massive company like Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, or Google. Does that make sense?
What's dating like in Japan for you over the last 5 years?
So it's different city to city, but if you're in Tokyo, I tell you, man, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. There's tons of women out here in Tokyo. And yeah, man, to be honest, I only really dated in Japan. When I was in America, I was young. I was 21. I was in a committed relationship for three or so years. So okay. I didn't really have a chance to date when I was in America. And also, you had to be over 21 to go to the bar and go to a lot of different places that when I first started dating is when I was single here in Japan. And being in Tokyo, you can just download a dating app. You can go to the club and meet people. It shouldn't be too much problem if you have confidence, you know how to talk to women. Most of the time I talk to people who are not Japanese, so it's a little bit easier. But even when you're talking to Japanese girls, man, girls are just girls. I mean, yeah, there's differences, but, you know, just, I guess, talk, be polite, and introduce yourself with confidence, and go out on a date. This is not, like, for the guys out there who are looking to come to Japan and they're curious about dating, man, like, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just go out there, have fun, introduce yourself, and you're going to meet people, and people are going to come towards you. Like, I find when I go to the club, man, if I'm just going out there having a good time, you know, attractive women come to me. So I don't really have to, like, sit there and just strategize and, like, you know, overly complicate things, man. Just be yourself.
Okay. What's the best life advice you've received? I know these ones.
Man, dude, I wish I could say something profound, but, you know, the best thing I ever done was understand who I am as a person. I will say that. It may not be advice, but I'm someone who done therapy for years on end, who reads a lot of books beyond just tech and business. And, like, the key to all of this is that you're not fighting. It's not you against the world. It's you against yourself. There's this quote out there that I don't know who is it by, but would you rather be at war with the world and at peace? Would you rather be, how should I say this? Would you rather be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, or at peace with yourself and at war with the world? And when you start to look at it from that perspective, I don't know if it's advice that I received from an individual, but it's something that life has given me in terms of feedback, is that every day you wake up and it's a challenge between you versus you. That's not you versus someone else. Don't blame anyone else for your problems. Don't look for outside excuses. Focus in on what you can control. And once you start looking at your areas of influence inside of your life, you start to realize that there's these magical levers that you can pull on and change to, like, get that life that you always want to have. And that's not a piece of advice that one person given me, but maybe a community of people throughout my life has given me. I hope that's good.
It's true. I live my life by that. You know, it's you against you.
Yeah.
It's true, bro. When it comes down to life change, the biggest obstacle is yourself, man.
Right.
Because I think if your internal environment is right, then outside it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
You got to get this right first. That's what I believe, like, wholeheartedly.
The world is always changing. There's always something new going on. If you're so focused on the world, it's just going to make you an anxious person. That peace, that stability, that being able to find calmness in the storm of chaos that's always happening in the world, it helps me thrive, man. Like, you know, without going too much into it, in Japan, there's some pros and cons. There's racism in Japan. There's difficulties with loneliness. There's a constant cultural barrier. And if I focus all of my energy on all those negatives and those things that I can't control, that sphere of concerns, I probably wouldn't be as well grounded of a person as I am today. But what I focus on is my area of influence. And my biggest goal right now is to make sure that my areas of concern, that circle of concern, is smaller than my circle of influence. The problem where people get themselves into is that they let that area of concern be larger than their circle of influence, and they feel like, it pretty much engulfs it, and they feel just powerless. They feel small because this circle of concern has gotten so big that they feel powerless and they can't do anything. So I focus on what I can change, not what I can't.
True. Good stuff, bro. So where can people find you online, man?
Hey, man, follow me on Instagram, Terrance, TERRANCE 95 and underscore. So that's Terrance 95 underscore. That's my Instagram. Also follow me on YouTube. I just started a YouTube channel. I probably got like 1 or 2 subscribers. So I'm hoping that some people can throw me some support and watch this process as I try to build something for myself. And that's just simply Terrance Reynolds. Can we include it inside the link? I mean, can we include it inside the bio? Yeah. So check the links in the bio if my my instructions weren't clear enough. So yeah, but I appreciate this, man.
Yeah, it was fun, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So guys, listen, go check out his YouTube channel. The link is in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and remember to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Until next time, right? Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Bye for now. All right.
That was awesome, man.